Have you wanted to make a game on Roblox but have no idea where to even start? Do all the different buttons and menus in Roblox Studio confuse you? Do you not know what the difference between client and server side is and why it's so important? This video will give answers to all those questions and more. If you've never entered Studio before or just don't know how to use it, this guide will be a great starting point for you to begin your Roblox development journey. Roblox Studio has a lot of buttons and features, so we'll simplify that down in this guide to all the important ones that I use all the time. Now, let's get right into the video. So I'm assuming you saw the title and thumbnail, so this is going to be a quick little walkthrough on everything that you need to know to make stuff in Roblox Studio. So, first off, you're going to go to New, you're going to click Base Plate. You can see it loads in pretty fast, it's just a base plate. Let's start by explaining the important services you need to know. Workspace is everything that's 3D that loads into the game. So like this is got to be in the workspace or else it's not going to show up, see? Parented to replicated storage, it's not going to show up. Parented to workspace, it shows up. Don't have to be directly parented to workspace, they just have to have one of their ancestors be workspace, so they can be under base plate or something. And they'll still show up. Then you got players here. This is the service that your player is going to spawn in. Players will spawn in your player object, which has a lot of data about your user, like your user ID, your name, your display name, a few different things like that. And your player will contain a few different objects. 3 to be exact will spawn in no matter what, but you can add more to your player, like a leader stats object to show stuff on the leaderboard. But let's just talk about the basic 3. So the 3 things will import stuff from different services down here. So first off, you have player GUI, which imports everything from starter GUI into player GUI and displays it on your screen. Stuff in player GUI. Well, GUI objects in player GUI will display on your screen if set up to be inside a screen GUI, of course. Starter pack will import stuff into backpack, well, export stuff into backpack, right? Your player object will import stuff from starter pack into the backpack object that it has. Tools there can then be used to just be used. The backpack is where everything's stored in terms of tools, and yeah. And then finally, it'll import your starter player scripts from starter player into the player scripts. Let's go to the 4 services that you're going to be working the most in, other than like maybe workspace. Basically, what you got in replicated storage is stuff like remotes. Remote events, like, let's see, so like this, you can fire that in replicated storage because your client can see it and the server can see it. So once you're just like fire the remote event from the server, or to the client from the server, or to the server from the client, both of them will be able to pick up signals from each other. So that's basically how you communicate information that you did something on the client to your server. So like, hey, I pressed a button here, change my marble's color or whatever. The server's like, okay, and then takes the remote event and does things. So server script service, this is where every script that you make will go. Well, not every script that you make. You're going to want to have your main server-side scripts on here, so stuff like your game loop script or something will want to go there. And they will run here, but the client cannot see them, the client cannot access them, the client cannot affect them. I've been explaining all this stuff about the server and client, but what exactly are they? So your client is going to be the player, pretty much. Anything that's connected to a Roblox server, like you know how the game servers work. Anything that's connected to a Roblox server is a client, like, usually. Any players there are clients. So that's where client side, client everything. It's basically just the things that you can do on your player's side. Server side is stuff that you have on the Roblox server that will send stuff back to you, I guess. Like, basically anything handled on the server side is handled by Roblox's servers, and no one on the client can do anything about it. So let's move on to server storage. This is basically replicated storage, but without the replication to the client. So anything that's on the server storage stays on the server. Unless a server script just replicates something from server storage, puts it in the workspace or something, at which point the client can see it. Alright, then we got starter GUI. This is where any GUI objects, like I explained to you how they replicate to your player object. So this is where you can like put any GUI objects that are going to be visible for you to develop on. This is where you're going to want to have all your screen GUIs anyway. Either that or in like server storage or something, if they're not being used. I personally just put everything in storage UI and have the things that I don't need not be visible immediately. So like if I didn't want this to be visible immediately, I could just do this. And yeah. Then you got starter pack, which I told you before, you can just put tools in and they will replicate to the player. It's pretty simple. The tools themselves are the hardest part. You just put them here and then they'll go to the player. Order replicated storage, at which point you can just directly insert them into the backpack yourself. Now we can see the more important stuff on this top bar real quick. So the most important things you're going to need to know about this stuff are going to be, first off, the 4 different things you can use here. Select, which allows you to drag stuff around. Move, which you can grab arrows and move stuff around precisely. Scale, which you can just make things bigger. I was holding down shift there, just so you know. You can hold down shift to make everything grow on at one point, or you can just do that and just grow them all in tiny little differences. I don't know. So, then you're gonna have your rotate thingy, which you can just spin stuff around with it, kind of. So you can use this part thing here to insert a bunch of parts if you want. This is where you're gonna do most of your building from. Like, you're gonna insert a bunch of parts. Either that, or do a lot of building in Blender and copy paste that all over the map. This is basically just a shortcut to make stuff, but I don't use it, so yeah. And here's arguably the most important button. It's a playtest button. It's got 3 different options, so you can spawn where your camera is, or run the game without spawning in at all. Then you've got another very important, but not very much used, but this is extremely important. You're gonna have to access game settings. So there's a few different things there. I'll go into like one of my published places to show this. Alright, here we are in one of my oldest games, so that we can show off the game settings. Here we go. Game settings, so you can see you got basic info, name, description, game icon, that's about it. Oh, and your thumbnails, genre, playable devices, yeah. Permissions, this basically allows you to do that. Monetization, this allows you to put badges in for some reason, private servers, and developer products. I do have some developer products in here, but they don't work. Don't buy them. I think I probably took them out, but you know what? Let's just, I'm gonna make sure, but either way. Security. You're gonna want to enable this pretty much every time, but anything else doesn't really matter unless you're gonna like have something like please donate, where third-party sales is really needed. So third-party sales is when someone else sells their item in your game, you get a 10% cut of that. Places. This shows there are different places you have in your game. Localization, this is basically showing stuff that you can do. Localizes the game for you, so that anyone can play it. Avatar. Everything, it doesn't matter. As long as there's nothing in the game that you really need to have, then just, yeah. World. This thing has stuff like gravity, jump height, walk speed, and yeah, this basically is your physics sandbox little thing it has. And then this is just your miscellaneous tab. Shut down all servers, enable collaborative editing, and spatial voice chat. So yeah, that's basically it. Alright, we're back here, so now let's go to the modeling tab. A lot of this is pretty much the same. I don't use any of this except for these 2 little things right here. So, these things are the increments that you can use your move and scale tool for the move thing. So like, that moves 0.25 studs, and this scales 0.25 studs at a time. If I change that number right here to, say, 5, I'll want move and scale 5 studs at a time. And for rotate, it's degrees, so you can just set it to like 2 degrees or something like that. And yeah, you'll have a very small increment, but, or you can just set it to like 200, I don't know. Yeah, I keep it at 15 degrees and a 0.25 stud move all the time. That's just my settings. I just find it easier to edit this way because this covers 30-degree angles, 60-degree angles, and 45-degree angles. And also 15 degrees and 75 degrees might also be useful at sometimes. Yeah, this covers all the important angles. If you need a specific angle, like 10 degrees or 12 degrees, you can just change it, swap it back. Avatar, I never clicked this. Like, this is probably the first time I'm ever even seeing this. So, yeah. Everything here doesn't matter. These are the union options. Don't use them. Just use Blender and make your own meshes. Here's your testing thing. You can see the play button again. And here is something that's really slow, but if you don't have alternate accounts, you can just use this to simulate a server with a bunch of players in it. So you can then have your view tab, which shows all the different docks you can have open at the same time. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you can see it fills up. Then you'll have the two most important docks here, Explorer and Properties, which you can then just turn off and on by that. This basically allows you to show which docks you need. So, say you need to look at your places and stuff, you can have your Asset Manager open. Again, that's something I need to have on a different game, but whatever. If you need to look at your Asset Manager, you just click here in the view thing. Okay, let's move on to the Game Explorer menu here. So, basically, the Game Explorer will show you everything that's in your game at the time that you can hit play test. Now, obviously, you can insert more stuff with scripts while the game is running. But yeah, so anything you see here, any GUIs that might be in here, so like if I put this in here, like anything that's in your game will be shown somewhere in here. Anything you can see, anything that you can't see but still is in the game, like scripts, it will all be shown here and you can manipulate it randomly. So like I was talking about parenting stuff earlier, say you can do that by just dragging this to anywhere. So you can parent it to baseplate by dragging it over baseplate, letting go, and boom, now it's parented to baseplate. Parent it to replicated storage, do the same thing, drag it over replicated storage, done. Yeah, you can do that with any object that's not a service, as you can see. Like I can't do that with something like Material Service. So yeah, that's the Game Explorer menu. So now I'll explain the Properties window real quick. So we'll close the Explorer real quick so you can see it better. Properties is where you'll see, hence the name, all the properties of a object. This is stuff like, can it cast a shadow? What's its color? I don't know, 1910, 48. But yeah, we can change it. We can change the properties and look at the properties in this window. So like we can make it transparent. We can make it slightly transparent. We can reflect stuff. But yeah, you can also see the size here. So yeah, yep. You can edit stuff there. If you need a precise positioning or something, my gosh, I cause a shadow glitch with that. If you need precise positioning of a part, then this might be good, but otherwise, yeah. But this is probably going to be your most useful thing ever. Like, this is probably going to be your most useful window. So yeah. Now let's go get those back. But yeah, so that's the basic stuff you need to know for Studio. I hope you enjoyed that. So if this was helpful, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.